What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what data is coming up for tomorrow and what the charts are suggesting, but just notes that I am not a financial planner, so make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends in a couple of weeks. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, for the market, I just want to talk about how we're looking. So right now, SPY had a very, very interesting trend. In my morning video, I mentioned there might be a little bit of a dip coming to the markets before we get a nice bounce. That's almost exactly what ended up happening. So if you look at the 30 minutes time frame, we got a little bit of a dip on SPY. We opened up around this 556 area only to dump back down to 552. So we dropped, excuse me, by about 4 points. And then we saw a lot of buyers coming back. They started to push the market right back up, especially after the first 3 hours came in. And then SPY ended up closing around 559, which is not bad whatsoever. Very, very strong close by SPY. So nonetheless, we look bullish on the charts. However, we might start off on a very, very weak note tomorrow. We could see the market gap to maybe dip a little bit before we continue to attempt to go higher. So I'm going to break down exactly why that is. Now, for tomorrow, we're not going to be reacting to too much data. We just have export and import prices coming out in the morning, which is very minor, might not affect the market much. And then at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report, the 5-year inflationary expectations, and consumer expectations, and more data like that. So look for some volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 30 minutes after market open, and we'll see how things go from there. Now, tomorrow is also Friday the 13th. It's going to be the second Friday close for the month of September. I think it's very important because we're going to be looking at a very crazy options chain. So we have a little bit over 300,000 calls expiring and over 1.1 million of the puts expiring, with 547 being max pain and a 3.59 puts to call ratio. So overall, I just want to say that the majority of positions are in puts. We have over a million puts expiring, and we have a very, very high put to call ratio, one of the highest we've seen in a very, very long time. And as of right now, it's the highest we'll see until the very end of September. So there's a lot of puts expiring. Could the market makers squeeze shorts, or are they going to do something different? We'll have to wait and see. Right now, sentiment is very close to neutral. We are technically still at fear, but we're getting close to neutral, which gives the market more room to push. Momentum is back to greed as we're seeing buyers stepping in, and SPY held its 125 daily moving average. Same thing with the S&P 500. And then also, the put and call option ratio went up because for the last couple of days, people are continuing to buy puts more and more and more. The 5-day average is what keeps on going up for the market, and now it's trying to stagnate a little bit right here. This is a sign that some puts are being closed. People are continuing to buy calls, are starting to hedge, and that's helping the market push. The VIX is dipping. We're now below our our 50 daily moving average. So that's a sign of weakness on the VIX. So far the market remains a bit more bullish. So what do I see for this moving forward? As of right now, SPY looks more bullish on the 4-hour time frame. Got a very bullish looking green bar right here. And when you look at the daily looks pretty nice right now. We are pushing up very, very nicely, trying to fill this imbalance. So my prediction for tomorrow is we're going to be looking for a very similar trend. Let me show you what this trend is. So look at the last couple of days for the markets. As you can see, we are clearly uptrending. But notice that SPY had a tendency since Monday. When we opened, we saw a dip on Monday, then we started to bounce back and consolidate. On Tuesday, we saw a bigger dip only to bounce back up. We made a higher high. On Wednesday, we dipped really hard and then got a big bounce. Today, we dipped a little bit, then we bounced. So tomorrow, I assume the same thing is going to likely happen. We might see a little bit of a dip in the morning period. That may cause us to dip to the next key support. And then after that, we might be looking for a nice bounce. Once again, we could bounce considering the fact that we look bullish on the 4-hour time frame. We did hit some key resistance, but we haven't broken it yet. But that still doesn't matter because we still have potential. The daily still looks bullish as well, so we still favor the upwards direction. So, in my opinion, what I think is going to happen is this. The first thing to remember is we have support at 558, then 556. If 556 fails us, we're looking for 553. We have resistance around this just under 560 area. If we break the 560 zone, we're looking for 562 and 563. I presume what's going to happen is SPY will dip in the morning. We might be retesting 558. If not, we could even come a little bit lower to 556. Then we could try to bounce and continue to push higher for that 560 target. I think we still will close relatively well. So I presume that's the most likely possibility, for forming a giant handle. One could also argue that SPY is forming a giant cup and handle for now approaching FOMC. This looks like a cup, and then, excuse me, this is resembling like a handle. So this might lead to more upside as well. For ES, we have a similar setup. We have a giant cup and handle like structure. We look bullish on the 4-hour time frame. If we manage to break past 5,600 and hold above its tomorrow, we're going to continue to squeeze up to about 5,630. If we lose 5,600 flat, we'll be looking for 5,580 as our main support. I presume the most likely case is going to be that we kind of dip a little bit, then try to get bought back up, and we could be pushing into the 5,600s. There is still potential for this to go even higher. We're holding up very nicely. Nvidia looks bullish on the 4-hour time frame. Look at the support we have around this 118 area, not to mention 115. Look at resistance at 120, not to mention 122.8. I think what's going to happen is Nvidia might dip a little bit towards 118, if not a little bit lower to about 115. Then we could bounce, start pushing up for that target of 120, followed by 122.8. So there's potential in this to try to rebound. I think we might dip a little bit to retest 118, if not 115. Then we try to continue to bounce from there and push into the 120s. That's the most likely case, in my opinion, 122.8 and 125. For Bitcoin, we're completely range bound. If we lose 56,800, we turn more bearish. We could be dipping for 55,600. If we break past 58,734, we're looking more bullish for that 60,000 targets. I think that's tomorrow. We might be dipping towards the 57,000 area. Then we could bounce, start pushing up higher for the 59,000s. So look for a little bit of a dip and then a bounce after that. The structure is technically more bullish because Bitcoin's making higher highs and higher lows. So look for a dip and a bounce is the most likely case. For others out there, such as Tesla, Tesla looks very bullish. I was talking about how it might dip towards about 222, then bounce. That's what my prediction was in the morning. We actually dipped about 224 and then we bounced. So went a little bit above expectations. But the good thing about Tesla is this: for the bulls, we are still bullish. Tesla is still making higher highs and higher lows. As you guys can see, we're doing a good job. But the issue hitting Tesla is the fact that we're hitting some tough resistance. We have 230 as a tough resistance, followed by 235. We've rejected off many of those levels many times. We have support to watch for at 228, followed by 225, and then 223 happens to be our next 20 EMA, followed by 219. So I think what could happen to Tesla is we dip a little bit again to 228. If that fails us, we could go a little bit lower to 225 again before we try to rebound and start pushing for the 230 target, if not higher above that. So look for a little bit of a dip, then a bounce after that, and we'll see how things end up going from here. For NQ, we look a little bit more bullish to me. We're trying to push higher. We have 19,500 as resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for 19,600. And if we end up losing or rejecting off that resistance, we could be dipping back down to about 19,250. So I think what could be happening is we may be dipping back down towards 19,250. We could try to bounce off this and start pushing higher. And if we break this resistance, we'll be looking for a next target of about this 19,700 area. So look for a little bit of a dip on NQ. As long as we hold above 19,250, we will remain more bullish. If we were to lose that, we will be looking for a bigger dip, but watch 19,250 as a key support. I presume we might be dipping closer to that level. Then we try to bounce again. If this is an inverse head and shoulders, the next target will be all the way up to about the 19,700 area. So there's still more upside potential. We could dip a little bit first before we try to continue higher, so watch for that. On the QQQ, we reached our target of 474, a level I called out yesterday as the bullish target if we broke past 468. We hit this imbalance already, so this is going to be a tough resistance. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of a dip from here. We could be retesting 468 to 470 all over again. Then we'll see if we bounce off those supports to push up higher for another test of that 475 area. So watch and see. A little bit of a dip and a bounce, and we'll see how things develop from here. For Apple, we're just consolidating right now. We have resistance to watch for around this 223.8 area, and support is going to be at 221, not to mention 220 or 219. I think Apple is just very, very sideways, stuck between 217 and 224. We're going to likely continue to go back and forth. I'm not really expecting much from there. For others out there, we have Palantir, and as a bearish divergence might be dipping a little bit. I think we could be retesting 33.86, maybe a little bit lower before we try to rebound. Look for a little bit of a dip that's likely coming looking at this structure. We could be re-entering the 33s, but then I'll be looking for a bounce after that. For Supermicro, I'm also seeing a little bit of a dip coming. Just like for SPY in the market, I see a bit of a dip before we try to bounce again. This might be dipping back down to the breakout area around the 430 area before it tries to bounce back up. It reached our target of 450, came short of 456 actually, but came close simultaneously. So look for a little bit of a dip before it tries to rebound. Overall, it could be on a bit of an uptrend, so it's still fine. For Rivian, we have this tough resistance at 13.89. Our support to watch for is at 13.59. I think the same thing is going to happen. We might be dipping to support at 13.59 to 13.5. Then we could rebound and start pushing for just under 14. For SoFi, we mentioned this was going to likely try to break out if we broke this resistance. It looked pretty good. I think we might get a back test of about 7.31 or maybe a little bit above that before we try to push higher and start pushing into the 7.5 area. There's an inverse head and shoulders like structure. We could dip a bit and start pushing higher, so we'll see how things end up going. For the IWM Russell 2000, we are looking at 212 as resistance. If that breaks, you're looking for basically the 214 area, followed by higher levels like 216. If we end up losing supports and we don't break past 212, look for a retest of 210. I think we look bullish on this. Could dip a little bit, then try to continue to push. And it depends if we could break past 212 tomorrow. There's going to be a big test on this. If this breaks, we will squeeze higher for 214, but watch to see if 212 breaks. For AMD, we look more bullish right now. We're trying to break out above this 150 area. Look at support at 148. If that fills us, we're going to be dipping back down to 144. And if we manage to hold above 148, we could be continuing to push up higher for 154. So watch resistance at 151. If we break the 151s, we're looking for 154. And then watch and see if 148 holds as support. I presume it's going to be shuffling between 148 and 150 for a little bit longer. Then we could be looking for a push for 154 if we manage to hold above support. For ARM, we look more bullish. Got a nice break of this resistance, but we're at this tough area at this 140 area. So the trend is more bullish, but we're at tough resistance. Watch 140's resistance and support around 138. I presume we're going to continue to shuffle for some time before attempting to go higher for 144. So give it some time to develop. Coinbase looks a little bit more bullish to me. As long as we could hold above 159, I think this remains bullish. If we hold above that, we're looking for a target of 167 or above. If we lose 159, we could be dipping back down to 155, but this looks more bullish, so watch for that. For Amazon, we look bullish because I was saying in the morning we might dip to about 182 then bounce. We actually held above 180, 183 and then we bounced, so it did better than expected. I think we might be trying to fill this imbalance. So it all depends on the levels. It's very simple, basically. If we lose support over here at this 184 area, we're going to turn more bearish. We could be looking for a dip back down to the lower 180s. And if we manage to break and manage to hold above 186, if we could hold above 186, I think Amazon will be squeezing up closer to about 190. So there's a lot of potential in this. I think the odds favor upside as long as we hold above 186. So we'll see how it goes. For Meta, we look more bullish to me. If we end up losing hypothetically this 524 area, we're looking for a dip back down to 520. As long as we hold above 525, we're looking for 530 plus. Looking at the time frames, we look more bullish. I think the 4-hour is looking pretty good. And I favor a move to the upside towards 530. We look nice on Meta. For Microsoft, we look more bullish. If we break past 427, I think we're looking for 430. And if we lose 425, we're looking for a dip back down to 419. Overall, this is favoring upside, so I think there's a good chance we push for 430. So we'll see how things end up going. We could dip towards 425 again before we continue to pump to 430, but it still looks more bullish. Google looks more bullish to me as well. I think 157 is likely coming. As long as we don't lose 153, we favor upside for 157. So it looks pretty good in my personal opinion. For DJT, I mentioned yesterday I might be dipping towards 16 flat, if not the lower levels, like 15.5. I think we could still retest 15.5, but we're going to be basing the 15s very soon. So for a little bit more downside before he attempts to bounce. For the VIX, we are still looking more bearish. We've lost our key supports, and we have this gap to fill down around 15. So I think what could happen is the market may dip a little bit tomorrow morning and start to bounce higher, and this may drag the VIX lower, and we might eventually come down to fill the gap before we see a big bounce. For the 10-year Treasury yield, the 4-hour is looking more bullish. We're looking for basically 3.73, and this could be pushing higher if that breaks. This will be affected by FOMC, but it might continue to downtrend. The dollar got a big rejection. I was talking about this in my video yesterday. I know the dollar might be looking for a dip. That's what happened as we had that resistance between the 101.8 and 102. So if we don't reclaim 101.5. I think this honestly favors more downside. It looks pretty weak right here, forming a bearish divergence and a double top. So this may continue to fall as the market continues to push. With that being said, what's going to likely happen is we may see a little bit of a dip tomorrow morning, maybe a gap down, and then the market may continue to push higher, most likely, as we have a lot of shorts expiring. And there's not really a whole lot of data. The market may be very optimistic about the Fed, or maybe pricing in, the rate cuts and such. So we're forming a possible cup and handle on SPY, and the market's getting dragged up higher. So we still favor the upwards direction for the time being. As of right now, we look more bullish. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to make this video kind of short for today. I just want to say I really appreciate you guys for your attention. The market's been very crazy the last couple of days as we're getting very close to FOMC. I expect even more madness next week as we have FOMC coming out, and we're going to most likely get, and most definitely we're going to get the first cuts of the year. So can't wait to see how it goes. Stay strong, guys. Tomorrow's the last trading day of the week. Have a great day, night, or evening, wherever you guys are around the world, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow before the market opens for one more update. Until then, take care and peace out.